This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too-big-to-fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.
Hey, Ola, it's Miles. Thank you guys for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast.
Have you heard our newest podcast? It's called The Greatest Story Never Told.
Download it today on radio.com. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded every Tuesday at noon.
Unfortunately, what you're about to hear is real. The members of this radio program are simply not that bright, or what some people would call educated. They are merely stupid. They're not trying to offend anyone on purpose. And all have played doctors on TV. You have been warned and are cordially invited to join the party. This is the Men's Room.
Forget it, man, and get with the countdown. Get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville. The trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. You know what they say, shake your radio more than 3 times, and you're playing with it. You're listening to the Men's Room.
Away we go. Welcome to Season 16, episode number 3431. Along with Steve the Thrill Hill, the Ted Smith, and Mike Hawk. And you are in the Men's Room. On tap today, Ryan Castle joins us from his basement dungeon studio bar. And once again, we will sit and spin. Today, we celebrate the choir with 10 songs that include a choir. We will play Profile This, plus headlines, Men's Room Shot of the Day, funable listener emails, and everyone's favorite TV Time with Ted.
Click, clack, dragon to die.
All right, here we go. Florida man getting frisked tells the cop that is not a gun. That's my beard splitter. 41-year-old jobless man says his parents sues his parents for support because in life he is a quitter. Milwaukee man takes his driver's license photo by shaving half his face. Strip club fight in Tampa because one woman was raking up the cash in the place. And neighbors are angry because of all the loud sex going on upstairs. Sorry. That is all coming on today's very special episode of The Men's Room.
And now, here's the question.
Hola, bitches. Good day to you and yours. All right, I believe it is the incomparable Toucan Sam of Fruit Loops fame who says, follow your nose, it always knows. And it turns out that's true. Just trust what you smell. Last week in Montana, a couple died when their house exploded. The thing is, they smelled gas earlier in the day, but they went to work. When they returned home, the house blew up. See, because if you think you smell gas, it's probably gas. And smell is a very important sense. It's a great warning system. For example, everyone knew there was something wrong with a 16-year-old kid because every time he blew his nose, he filled the room with, and I quote, a pungent, foul odor. So think about this. He stinks up an entire room every time he blows his nose. Well, it turns out that was the result of a BB that had been lodged in his nose for the last 8 years. That is pretty gross. Now, you might think that living near a perfume factory would fill the air with positive fragrance, but you'd be wrong, at least according to the people in Jacksonville, Florida. The city issued a cease and desist order against International Flavors and Fragrances because of the, quote, sickening odor released by its factory. Again, they make fragrances, but turns out several residents, they've actually filed a lawsuit against the same company because their perfume factory smells that bad. Go figure. And coincidentally, my own coworkers, they have threatened lawsuits against me because of my farts. And to you, I simply say this. Be glad that I am not a woman. That's right. They conducted a study back in 1998 to determine Who has the smellier farts? Is it men or women? And believe it or not, it was women. Yes, men fart more, and we fart more gas at the times we fart, but the concentration of the sulfur, whatever the hell it is, yeah. Apparently that's the ladies right there, so next time you smell it, probably wasn't the dude. It was the chick. But today we're talking about smells. And look, not every smell is a vile smell, but more than likely, those are the ones that will come to mind. Today's question is real simple. You come up to the house, you think, man, something on our property has died. We know how you know, because you can smell it. Or, man, oh, man, mom must be cooking. You know, we know, because you can smell it. So today's question is this. What was responsible for the smell?
Be part of the big show. Call 206-421-ROCK. Like the Men's Room on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Men's Room Live. And send those emails to the Men's Room at KISW.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too big to fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
The shenanigans continue. This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. 99.9 KISW.
On the show, away we go. Welcome to season 16, episode number 3,431. What a large and in charge program we have for you today. Guaranteed future repeat.
Sure.
Once again, we'll talk to Ryan Castle. He is still in quarantine at his home, in his basement, his dungeon. He's got a studio down there. He's got a bar. He's got a makeshift kitchen. Presumably a place where he sleeps.
Mm-hmm. Pool table, sofa, TV.
He's been, honest to God, you think about getting your home renovated. It's a great thing, man. You're going to have, brand new whatever you're going to get on the house. But
sure.
At this point in time, when it's your kitchen and you're pretty well only at home and you lose your kitchen.
Sucks.
God almighty. He's living out of it. If you checked out the KISW Facebook page, there's a picture of him sitting on on like a stool trying to stir some chili. It's damn
on top of his dryer.
Exactly. So Ryan's going to join us from his basement. Once again, we'll sit and spin. And today we will celebrate the choir, so to speak. Sometimes the choir involves kids, church choirs and everything else. But the choir does pop into popular music from time to time.
Sure.
So today we're going to feature 10 songs that include a choir. And they're all very popular. What's wrong?
Just choir. Makes me nervous.
Okay. Well, you don't like the choir? I mean, you were in band, right?
I was in band, yeah.
Well, the choir's kind of part of that. I mean, that whole...
They are also musical, but no.
Well,
no. The stuff that we did in our band, I mean, look, we were not breaking new ground playing with the theme to Greatest American Hero, the Muppets. Oh, God, I can't think of his name, but stuff that people were familiar with.
Yeah,
the choir
that's the
usually
idea.
just sang garbage. It's not even like they reinterpreted a song people like. Like, in school band, we would try to do that. And sure, we sucked, but at least you kind of knew the song, right? But choir, you're like, what is this even that
it
you're
always
singing?
seemed to me like the funnest part about being in a band or being in choir was when you got to do a tune that people actually knew. And it took a little time, and you'd be like, oh, my God, they're doing this instead of the
band. We did that.
Band
Choir.
crap, you know what I'm saying? Choir's kind of tough, though.
It's its own thing.
I agree with Thrill. Like, I feel like bands do that. I feel like the choir, you stick to, like, the standards.
Like
or you got to be, like, a super good real choir.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Like anything else, though, which you'll determine if you've had kids and you've gone to the recitals of the world.
Jesus Christ.
It is amazing. It's a lot like athletics, too. If your kid's involved in any kind of soccer or anything like that, when they start out, they're all bunched up. It's like basically a bunch of flies on a piece of raw meat out there, just moving the meat around, and all the flies follow. Then after a while, those flies start to spread out. and they get on the outsides. And then the flies center the ball into the middle. Then you get a header, like in the 6th grade, like, oh, my God, they got it.
No headers, bro.
Same. Oh, they don't do that anymore?
They do not. It's concussion protocol.
Can you take one off the shoulder?
You can take it off the shoulder, but you cannot. And look, plenty of kids take it off the face, but you cannot intentionally.
Doesn't that ruin the whole point of centering and the corner kick in general?
Look, as
Miles,
adults,
you can't be shouldering down balls in any league. It's soccer.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how am I supposed to? Where am I supposed to take that thing off the neck?
Let it bounce off your chest, knock it down, kick it in.
Okay. All right.
It's just that simple.
Well, I'm saying you're obviously making a handball. You can't do that either.
Just leaning my shoulder in a little bit. Who would know? Boink. You know. But it's like that with music too. The older the kids get, the better it gets.
You know why? Because after a certain age, they stop playing the recorder. I'm 100% convinced that is the destruction of all elementary school band. No one can play the recorder well except John Paul Jones, and he did it once in Stairway to Heaven. Then he didn't. I don't know why they invented the instrument. I do not know why they insist that children play that of all instruments, because it always sucks. But it is awful.
Here's one thing you will notice. As the kids get older, the pieces get more complicated. The pieces always tend to be longer. So that 11th grader playing piano, he's going to do Tchaikovsky.
Right.
And that song's going to be like 9 minutes long.
It's not chopsticks anymore.
Oh, my God, you're killing me, kid. But either way, we're going to do the choir today, and 10 songs that include a choir. All right, on to the question today. What was responsible for the smell? This is an interesting story. And back to being a child. A teen who had experienced years of nasal congestion, along with a mysterious foul odor when he blew his nose, turned out to have a BB gun pellet lodged in his nostril, which had been there for about 8 years. The teen first visited doctors for symptoms. He's about 15 years old. He said he's experiencing congestion for several years. Couldn't really smell things, he told the doctors. Well, they examined the inside of his nose. They saw that he had a so-called turbinate hypertrophy. That's an enlargement of the passageway in the nose. So it's a narrowing. Okay. Kind of like if you have a deviated septum, it's just harder to breathe through. The condition can sometimes be caused by allergies, inflammation from sinuses, all these different things. Well, doctors figured it was something like that. So they prescribed the teen a nasal spray and antihistamine medication, told him to come back 4 to 6 weeks. Well, like most people, he didn't go back in 4 to 6 weeks.
Of course not.
The teen did not return until a year later. He's at this point 16 years old, and he was still experiencing nasal symptoms. But now, he said when he blew his nose, a pungent, foul odor filled the room.
That is so gross.
The author said the patient reported that he did not feel he had bad breath, but he was embarrassed that every time he blew his nose, that there was a foul odor in the room like bad breath, and it would fill up the entire room.
God damn, man.
So doctors then performed a CT scan and saw there was a 9-millimeter spherical structure in his cavity, looked like a foreign body. Then they did surgery, and they found the object. That turned out to be a metallic BB pellet. A talk with a family revealed he had been shot in the nose with a pellet gun when he was about 8 or 9 years old. Now, at the time, the boy had not experienced symptoms, so his parents didn't think anything about medical care. In addition, the pellet, in the boy's case, was even harder to spot because over time, it had become covered with new tissue inside the nasal cavity. So healthy-appearing tissue had completely grown over the top of it.
You guys both have children.
Yeah.
If your kid got shot in the nose with a BB gun and you never found the pellet.
I'm going to the hospital.
All right.
That's just me, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After his surgery, his nose tissue appeared normal and the unpleasant odor disappeared, according to the report. Now, as far as your children go and their smells, there is a period of time, and I want to say early on, it gets a little bit better because you're helping them with brushing their teeth. Mm-hmm. But about the time the kids get to about the 3rd grade, somewhere in there.
It's before that, homie.
Is it before that? There seems to be a brief lapse in just being able to remember that it is very important that one brushes their teeth.
But as a parent, it's very easy to remind them because say, you're 20 feet away from me. I can smell your breath. Please go brush your teeth.
As much as you want to get up in the morning, bend over, give your kid a kiss on the cheek, tell them you love them and good morning, as soon as they open their mouth, you think to yourself, dear God, do I have to remind them to brush their teeth every single morning? And then I'll ask, when was the last time you brushed your teeth? Now the look of the poker face comes on. I'm like, seriously, man, when is the last time you brushed your teeth? You know, like, you're not going to have any friends.
Right.
People do not want to talk to you. Like, I don't know if you realize how bad this is. You know, and there's all kinds of bad smells from things that you love. You tend to address certain things based on smells?
Sure.
Depending on the relationship you have with someone, depending on whatever the deal
that's
is.
why with kids it's easy, because as a parent you can say whatever. It can be wipe your ass better, because it's also your job as a parent, and they kind of understand that. So, things that you might not say to your buddy, it's like his breath just kept, like we used to have a coworker whose breath was atrocious. We never said anything to him because we liked him just fine. But he's a coworker, and everybody recognized his breath stunk, but we all agreed, man, just don't say anything. If my kid had the same breath, even if my kid were his age, 30-some years old, like, what's wrong with your mouth, man? So with kids, at least it's easy,
right?
No matter how they stink.
I had a relative that I was close to who was a senior relative, and you don't realize what. You have a pretty good idea, but you think you pass it off to somebody else. So, with this senior relative, when I hugged the particular person, there was often a smell of very, very bad diarrhea. Now, it turned out that this person, who was related to me, was pretty well incontinent. To the point where they probably should have had a
colostomy bag,
diaper. But they were wearing that. Correct.
Okay.
So they had I was not aware of this.
Right.
Because that's not how my mom.
But for how many years were you hugging them and thinking, man, they kind of smell like poop?
Well, eventually they got the bag. But before that, that was not the case, right?
Right.
So, all I knew was this grandparent of mine smelled like crap all the time. And it was also the way that the bathroom smelled.
Yeah.
So there was a very similar smell. As far as that, so I put the correlation together. It's not like I didn't love this person.
Oh, grandma pooped her pants.
Pretty well correct. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things. And like anything else, the first thing you do when you come into somebody's house, especially if they're your grandparent, is you give them a hug.
Mm-hmm.
That was mandatory.
Right.
And I'd always just think to myself, and I'd take a whiff, And then, the grandparents' house already smelled like grandparents' house.
It smells like old people.
And I cannot, and back to the speaking of the choir, last time I actually saw a choir perform in a musical recital was at a senior living center here in Seattle, and they were doing a holiday performance that lasts about an hour and a half, 2 hours, around the holiday season. And of course, everybody congregates in the room, they bring people in, and then you sit there and you watch all the kids do their thing. I had to step outside at least 2 or 3 times just because of the smell. There's something about the smell. And I know I'll have that smell one day, too.
You will. It's some chemical thing that happens as you age.
I don't know when you first buy mothballs, but it happens probably around the same time. It's this smell that I cannot put my finger on, but when it hits your nose, you go, old person.
It's literally what old people smell like. They did a study.
Can you notice it as you get older?
You don't. But it's like anything. You don't really notice it to yourself because your body does not construe it as a threat, so it doesn't even bother to alert your brain. Anything's untowardly. But so as you get older, man, I can't remember what it is, but like there's this chemical breakdown that happens to all of us, and there's a reason because there's always like the old person smell, but you're like that has to be like an old wives' tale, right? But you walk into a place, and they could be black, white, they could be Asian, they could be, it smells like old, right? Mm-hmm. So I read about it, and there is something that breaks it down. You can't, the only thing you can do is die early.
My worry is that as I get older, you can't notice it as much on others.
You probably
I feel like when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, it was like, this smells like old people. Now I'm just racking my brain like, oh man, I don't know if I smell them anymore.
You won't. Right. I don't think you will. It's no longer like a threat to. And if you're an old person, presumably most of the other people you hang out with are also old.
Everything in the house smells like old people. Like you can pick up an iron, it smells like an old person.
Yeah.
My mom wanted to give me like a jacket that my grandfather had. We were about the same size. She's like, you would love this jacket. It's a really classic gray jacket. I was like, all right, man, I'll check it out. You know what I mean? I pulled that thing out. I took a whiff of it. I'm like, hell no, I can't get the smell out of it. Smell? What do you mean? What smell? Because when you live in it, you don't know.
Now,
Mom, I'm not trying to be offensive. I love you. The whole place smells like old people. Right. She's like, no, it does not. Don't say that. And I'm like, Mom, it does. It smells like old people in here. Like it really does. I mean, everything does. Like I wash myself and then I wipe myself down with old people towel because the towel smells like old people. When I take that washcloth out that almost fell apart on me because I've had it since 1976, it smells like old people when I have to douse it in soap just so like I don't wash my body in your nasty ass smell. Down, take that down. I'm like, I'm not kidding you. Everything smells like that in here. It's unbelievable.
Like your towels smell like old people.
Right, exactly. I have to walk outside and just get a breath of fresh air and smoke a cigarette. That's the freshest air there is.
You mind if I smoke indoors?
How about food? on the topic of things that smell, I think that's one of the things that it is the most, like the other night, I ended up going to a place by my house, sitting outside, this plate of fried Brussels sprouts goes by.
It's horrible.
Okay? I'm telling you, it smelled like what I dropped before I left to go down there. I mean, it was exactly like what I laid down before I went down there to get dinner. And I'm like, and I love Brussels sprouts. I know you don't like vegetables or anything, but I like Brussels sprouts. But when I smell them, they're not coming to me. I'm like, that smells like someone took a crap.
They do. They smell like poop.
Broccoli does the same thing if you heat that.
Broccoli
Yes.
does.
So, and then I was thinking about foods that stink that people still fight through and eat. Like, who else would eat something that if something smells bad, your first instinct should probably be not to eat that thing.
That's generally how you make a decision.
You know what I mean?
Right?
But we eat things like liver and onions is another thing that it is the worst. It is a smell that knocks me back. Like, I get, my mouth starts to salivate. Like, I'm ready to throw up when I smell liver and onions.
Sure.
People love that crap. Last time I was down to see my uncle. He's like, "You want to do liver and onion night?" I'm like, "Hell no!" And he's like, "Well, I'll make some sides. I'll do liver and onions, man. You just throw some chicken on the barbecue, whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." I couldn't walk in the house.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, it was awful. All right, here's one that I think all of us enjoy, but honestly, you would never choose to smell like fish and chips.
No, you absolutely would not.
And like in a bar, you could tell when somebody has broken like the silence and ordered fish and chips, which I am guilty of.
It's delicious.
Because they're awesome. But like, I would never say like that's an appetizing smell.
No, it's really not.
Or vinegar. I love vinegar.
I love vinegar. Right.
Not a great smell.
I like the smell of vinegar.
You ever smell chitlins cooking?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it smells like what they
What is
are.
it, like kimchi, kind of?
No, dude. I mean, it has
back
like
to,
the
like, liver.
strength of kimchi, but more on the side of liver. It is an awful, horrible smell, and they take all goddamn day to cook.
Mm-hmm.
So like once someone starts them, dude, that house smells like pig intestines all day.
Our question, what was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROCK.
Yeah, generally intestines smell a lot. And Brussels, I will still take the smell of fried ones. I told you as a kid, all we had was steamed. And I mean, that ruined your house for a day.
If you steam any kind of vegetable, and look, I don't like vegetables, but if you steam vegetables, I'm convinced you just made them smell 10 times worse than they need to.
Did you guys ever go to somebody's house growing up who was a friend of yours whose house just had a funny smell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one buddy's house smelled like cookies, right? It smelled like fresh baked cookies. And I remember
That's
the first
not a bad
time,
thing.
No, it's not. But the first time I walked in, I remember I'm meeting his parents for the first time. There was like 4 of us, but I walk in and it smelled so much like fresh baked cookies. I remember offering up you can tell someone's baking cookies. Because as a kid, I'm trying to work my way into getting a cookies. Everyone just stared at me, and I couldn't figure out why. And then we're there for like 3 hours, and I realized this is just what his house smells like. And every time I went over there after that, it's like, the hell does this house smell like fresh baked cookies? It wasn't a spray. It was that was just the smell of these people. They smelled like cookies. I just find that very odd.
Yeah. Oh, look, man, the girl we used to do alphabetical.
That's insane, but
dude, seriously,
torture as a kid.
It didn't smell bad. But if you went there, the entire house didn't matter which bedroom you went in, they smelled delicious. Like you wanted to eat these people.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons, this one,
I was a weird
this
kid.
one
What do you
girl
want
in
to say?
particular, we had a love-hate relationship for each other because
she hated you and you loved her.
She hated me and I loved her. Probably.
Yeah.
But she sat in front of me because it was alphabetical. Mackenzie's last name. I'm behind her. And I was behind her for most of the time. She was the girl who I tied her hair into the desk and all that stuff, right? Well, her parents both smoked. And, it rained a lot in West Virginia. So when she would come in, she would put her chair on the back of her desk. And people smoked in
jacket.
Yeah, jacket. People smoked inside back then.
Right.
And I mean, she reeked. She smelled like an ashtray.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like every single day, to the point where even when my friends started smoking a little bit, like we got a cigarette, we're going to go in the woods and have one, I was like, I don't want to smell like her. You know what I mean? Because I just smell it every day. And it was horrible. Like, and I think I had to talk with the teacher about it. She's like, it's alphabetical.
Right. Oh,
it's alphabetical. Like I
had a buddy whose parents smoked all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, he hated it. He smokes now.
Right.
Weren't you always happy to go to a buddy's house whose dad smoked a pipe?
I smoked.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, that was the best.
Yeah, right. If somebody was in the basement smoking a pipe, you're like, that's unbelievable. I mean, to this day, right? Like, if I'm walking down the street and smell a Black and Mild, I smile and go, it was like somebody smoking Black and Mild.
You gotta remember, like, she smelled like a wet ashtray.
Right.
Yeah.
So, even if we were to have, like, let's just say that we would have PE on a rainy day or whatever, or like, music. We'd sometimes do dancing. We get paired up together, like, to be partners.
Yeah.
On any kind of, it was just like, It was the worst thing ever. I mean, honest to God, it was like I was with a 63-year-old smoker and we were married together. And like I'm at a VFW dance. It was horrible. What was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROCK.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too big to fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
You're in the men's room. 99.9 KISW and KISW HD1 Seattle.
Our question, what was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROCK.
I like this response. It says, I was working at a restaurant in New York, and my task was to portion the chicken wings. You could smell the rot through the bag. Well, the owner's wife of the restaurant told me, it's just a dead animal in the wall. Get back to work. So I threw them all away and left to never return.
Good, because you kept people from getting sick.
Well, that's supposed to make you feel better. Oh, it's not the chicken. It's the dead animals in our restaurant walls. The chicken's fine.
Yeah.
The restaurant they're working in.
Hello, Scotty. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola, bitches.
Hola.
How you guys doing today?
Doing great, Scotty. Thanks, brother.
Right on. So my story is I was out Pacific Beach clam digging, and I finished up digging clams, and my brother-in-law wanted to go down and catch some surf perch, so he pulled some sand shrimp out of the beach for bait, and it was just pouring down rain, and I gave him my raincoat since he didn't have one, and I was getting ready to walk back up to the cabin, and so he put the sand shrimp in a little Ziploc baggie, stuffed them in my coat pocket, and I didn't find them until about 5 or 6 months later going out on a camping trip.
Oh, my God.
And so this coat sat in my bedroom closet for about 4 or 5 months, whatever it was, until I got it or wore it again. And I don't know how it didn't pop in there, but it was the most foul smell I've ever had.
Did you open the baggie? Like, did you want to know what it smelled like, or did you just throw it away? Or could you smell it all the time, you just didn't know where it was coming from?
So I didn't smell it until we loaded up the car with all of our camping gear and gear and everything. And all of a sudden, I was like, what the hell is that smell? And my wife is like, she's like, did you fart? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I hope I don't smell that bad. And so we're just driving down the road, and it got worse and worse. And then we would roll the windows down and catch a whiff of it every once in a while. And then when we finally got to the camp area, I went and threw my rain jacket on, and it was just a straight waft of disgusting, rotten seafood stench up into my nose. So I took the coat off, dug through the pockets, and what I'm guessing the reason we hadn't smelled it is since it was rotting, it probably inflated the bag, but didn't luckily pop in our house until we started packing everything up, and then we probably popped the bag. So I just took it and tossed it out of the car. And
did you throw the coat? Did you throw the coat away, or did you keep the coat?
I actually traded with my brother-in-law once I told him the story, because he was out there camping too, and he soaked it in bleach and simple green, pretty damn strong solution, and was able to get the smell out. Which, yeah, it was. So he had the same exact coat, same size, and everything, but it was disgusting.
What did that bag look like? When you looked at the bag, I mean, was it just like black goo or what?
You nailed it, yes. It was just like the nastiest black slime. There was not a resemblance of a shrimp in there whatsoever. It was just gelatinous nastiness.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's not good. I had a chest freezer. I didn't think too much of it that went down in a hurricane.
Right.
So power went out. Power goes out for 14 days. And as crazy as it sounds. So the last thing that I thought about, I did a lot of stuff with food.
Sure.
As far as what was in my house, like, kind of the day one, you figure out what you can eat right away. You try not to open up the refrigerator that much. You know certain things maybe have like 48 hours of shelf life or whatever the deal is. Maybe you can save some butter, blah, 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 blah. I didn't think about the chest freezer. Okay, so the power comes back on. This is, again, a couple days later. Or a couple weeks later. This is like 10 days, 12 days of just no power.
Right.
Power comes back on, and the freezer kicks back up again. And the best way that I can describe it is, whatever happened within that 10-day, 12-day period kind of vacuum sealed the lid. I want to say based on the fact that things heated up in there.
Right.
And then there was a blast of cold air. Like, I could not pry... I could not get the vacuum seal. I could not lift the lid. It was like it was a suction cup deal. And I finally, with the help of my buddy, got it, and we pulled up on each corner and went pop. And the bubble of air that came out of that thing was, it was enough to knock it stung my nostrils.
Right.
Like smelling salts. It was like, and I wanted to throw the damn freezer away. I was just like, the hell with this.
You keep it?
Yes. It was like I only had it for 6-7 months.
Yeah, you can clean it with bleach and
but
stuff.
It still never, you know what I mean? It was just like, I don't know, man.
How much meat did you have in there?
I had a ton of stuff. I had venison in there. I had all kinds of crap in there.
Yep.
All the stuff was just like, ready to rock. I had friends that gave me fish. All the worst possible stuff.
Right.
Kind of chicken nuggets. You got to remember, I'm living on the Chesapeake Bay, so somebody goes out, here's some rockfish, here's this.
Yeah, my freezer right now, there's a couple steaks in there.
Yeah,
there's some fish, this and that. Right. If they all got warm, and then that would not be a pleasant story.
The freezer's probably the worst.
The worst was the just regular 2-stick popsicles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, they basically busted. So, they're leaking like blue liquid all over the bottom of the damn thing and all that crap. So to deal with all that, it was just, the smell, though, you couldn't even put your head in there to get the stuff out. It was like one thing at a time. I put on one of those big Rubbermaid gloves.
Yeah.
I reached in, I had a bag, and I could get one out at a time. Then I have to take 30 seconds. I had to close the lid, I had to turn back. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't just reach in there and get all that stuff out. And then I had to wheel the damn thing outside to open up the lid just so I could air the thing out, and that took days. What was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROB.
Hello, Rob. Welcome to the men's room.
Hey, fellas. I was out to dinner a few weeks ago with my daughter, my other daughter, and my newborn 10-week-old grandson. And my daughter informed me that my grandson had been constipated for 2 days. So being the naughty dad that I am, I decided to give a little ranch dressing and a little barbecue sauce to my grandson sitting in my lap. He decides to load his diaper right there on the spot as he's smiling. I could feel the kid just launch his diaper, right? So my first response is, here you go, kid, go change my grandson, right? Well, both my daughters decide to go into the bathroom. Now, I told my son-in-law, I said, you know what? That's wrong. Why do you think dads and grandpas do not change babies' diapers? Sure enough, my daughter goes in with her sister. First whiff, she puked on both the baby and my daughter and the sink. And I had not stopped laughing. To this day, I make fun of her. I said, why did you volunteer to go in and change this child's diaper knowing that he'd been constipated for 2 days? It's not going to come out well.
No,
it doesn't.
That's parenthood, man.
It is, man. And you just look, like, why did I sign up for this? Why am I doing this? This sucks. This is awful. It's someone else's poop. Right.
There's about 2 years there where I could not eat Grey Poupon.
Actually, it crossed my mind today. I made a sandwich for work, and I had the stone ground mustard.
Yeah.
And when it hadn't been open yet. And honest to God, my first thought was, this looks exactly like my daughter's poop used to look. And I hate it as I'm spreading it on my bread, going, get this thought out of your head.
Same consistency.
Yep.
What was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROCK.
Yeah, like 2 to 3 year olds, they can poop some weird stuff.
They can poop some weird stuff because they still eat some weird stuff, but they're starting to poop like an adult.
They can poop like a trucker who's been holding it for 14 hours.
I've seen some amazing things.
You cannot believe it. Because you got to clean up after him. You're like, how did that get out of that hole?
About 2 weeks ago.
My nephew, when he puked when he was like 6, like I could still smell it right now on Christmas Day. And awful.
It is. And honestly.
But how did it smell worse than an old dude? Not old, but a guy like my age who's piss drunk.
I don't know.
Like, how does the kid smell worse? Because he had sugar.
Because you're the one puking.
No.
I mean,
I've watched friends of mine puke. It does not smell as bad as that child.
Okay.
No, I believe you, man. Kid, I almost went to Amazon and ordered a poop knife about 2 weeks ago. I lifted the lid on the toilet, and I mean, there was a hog in there, man. And this thing, I flushed 3 times, and the water just went around it. And the thing is, it sucks. I don't have a poop knife. So here I am with the plunger, and again,
any knife is a poop knife.
It's a good point. I'm thinking, here I am.
I know it's not because you don't put that back in the drawer, dude. You don't put that back in the drawer.
Sure, all of a sudden you have extra butter knives.
You need to make sure that is clearly marked.
I got close, but in the end, it's me and the plunger. But as I have to break this thing apart, and it was sticky, it was massive. I know which child was the culprit. It smelled so bad. And I have a pretty solid gag reflex. Like most things don't make me heave. I was about to blow chunks all over the place.
Is there a track record in your family of this happening to anybody else?
No, it's just her, man.
Just her.
It's just her. I mean, this thing was a monster.
I wonder which child that could be. What was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Steve. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
So you guys messed me all up with that freezer story. I know how that happened.
How the vacuuming, the sealing of the lid happened?
Yeah. Happens on fishing boats often. So when you have frozen product in there, most people have a little bit of ice buildup too. Mm-hmm. When it unthaws, the pressure as it heats up pushes that moisture out and it collects on the seals. Then when you refreeze it and it freezes down, it sucks in that moisture and it locks the freezer down.
Yeah, that's what happened to me basically.
Yeah, it sucks.
It does.
But anyways, my story is the smell of raccoon and I'm guessing rat. I think it was a raccoon. But I was working at a car lot. My boss came in and was like, my house has been smelling for months. There's something dead underneath. So he had me go under his house, and this is like a 6,000 square foot house. And I got lost under there for probably an hour. But the raccoon did too. He got lost under there and chewed through the wrapping that's around your air supply system that heats your house and got stuck up in there. And then the rat started feeding on it and like chewed a little bit of a hole in the ducting. So the smell, every time he turned his heat on, that smell just like filled his house. But it was under the house too. I smelled a lot of bad fishing stuff from fishing, but being stuck down there he had to stomp on the floor so I could find my way back out because I had to crawl under a bunch of ducting that I could barely fit under.
Did he give you a bottle of whiskey after this or anything like that? I mean, like, you know what I mean? Here's a case of beer, kid.
He gave me a couple $100.
All right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair
had
enough.
to be something, man.
If you're going to do that, I read a whole article about the raccoon the other day, just as far as what they're doing in England, Canada, and all this stuff.
Are they like having some raccoon issues?
They're having serious raccoon issues. Apparently, and I did not know this, but in a lot of where there's older homes and things like that, where you might be able to get into a little nook or cranny on a home, into an attic or in a crawl space or whatever the deal is, raccoons typically, if they do live in your house, and most do if they can get in, they will live in the basement or they will live above the attic. And the reason they do that is because even if there is someone in the house, they typically will not be above the bedrooms during the day.
All right.
They're most of the time in the living area, the kitchen area, and downstairs.
All right.
Raccoons are nocturnal. So they want to sleep during the day. So they go find the quietest part of your house.
Okay.
Whether that is the basement or whether that is the attic or whatever. But
I don't have that.
With COVID, everybody's been home. So they're hearing these damn things, you know, in their attic, in their basement.
So, chances are the raccoons have been there the whole time. You're just noticing because you're now
home.
Stuck at home.
Right. And there are a lot of people, and they're becoming, and people are starting to feed them. So now they're
Why?
Because people are at home and they're dumb, and so they're feeding the raccoons, which is encouraging them to be, you know, 2 more steps near them the next time.
Yeah, you're a
And
food
then
source.
All of a sudden, next thing you know, you got a raccoon wrapped around your damn hand. You know what I mean? And you're wondering what the hell happened. So they're like encouraging people not to feed these things, especially if they're living in their homes.
I mean, I understand you have to explain this to children, like, hey, Disney made these things look cute, but we call it a trash panda for a reason. But to have to tell adults, like, don't feed the raccoons. Come on, man.
Sometimes you just got to know where you live, too. Like, if you're in a park and you're feeding some birds or feeding ducks with bread.
I'm in a park.
But there's a bunch of people in a certain neighborhood that has more older people that I walk through, and they always put bird seed out there. But it only attracts rats.
I know.
Like, you live in the middle of the city. And, like, every night I walk home, and there's, like, the same... I don't know if it's the same rat, but he's always in the same spot.
No, it's the same rat.
I know.
Do you say hi to him?
No, I just go, effing rats.
Right.
Because I'm just like, will you old people stop leaving all this crap out here for the birds?
My mother used to have bird feeder for the entire time I grew up. I don't know that I ever saw a bird on the bird feeder. Squirrels.
Yeah.
They would knock it down. Raccoon, you name it. I'm like, this is an animal feeder. This is not a bird because the birds are never here. If you have 4 legs, they're eating it.
My rat buddy died. Something hit him. I had to take him and put him in the garbage the other day and send him out. He stunk too.
That's love.
What's a rat?
He was, but he was like, he'd go in the yard and I'd talk to him. He'd look up at me like, hey, what's up, brother? I'm outside smoking. I know the rat. He's always in my yard for whatever reason. He's always.
Because you're a filthy person.
I think he lived under my scooter because it was covered. Like, so he had a little burrow under there. But anyway, so he died, so I had to throw him away. I don't know what happened to him. I was all bummed out. I was like, dude, my rat's gone. He hadn't come back.
That's a sad, sad story.
That is not.
Dog ran away, had to put a cat down. Your rat buddy died.
I know the animals in my neighborhood. Like, I know the crows that come and give me crap all the time. What was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROCK.
You're friends with rats, but the crows don't like you.
No, they're always just chirping. You know what I mean?
All right.
Like,
That's
shut up.
kind of what they do.
I know, but it's 5:30.
They're like my Texas relatives.
They're on my balcony.
They're always talking about you. Mm-hmm. Hey, that boy going in and get that some cup of coffee. Me come out here and smoke that cigarette. Yeah, just look at him. That, to me, that's what crows are. I'm like, this is my family in Texas. Constantly talking. Hello, Ken. Welcome to the men's room.
Smell it.
Smell it.
So, my wife and I had 2 male dogs at one point, and they decided to have a fun game of mark the leg on the kitchen table. And so we're trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do to get these dogs to stop peeing in the house. And so my wife looks online and she finds this wonderful homemade remedy. And so we go, and the only 2 ingredients I remember are lavender oil and cayenne pepper. And you put that in a spray bottle along with something else, maybe vinegar. I'm pretty sure we made bear spray because we sprayed a little bit. Our eyes started watering. We started gagging, had to open all the windows, and we had to leave.
Is that potent? Huh? Did it keep them from peeing on your coffee table?
No, not at all. No, the next day they're right back to it.
Okay.
Like, you sons of bitches.
Are they still doing it?
Well, one of them is upstairs with sunshine right now.
Upstairs with sunshine. That's right.
You got to go on the down escalator.
Nah, upstairs.
The other one is still with us, but he's the only male left of our crew, so no need to mark things.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So do not mix that together is what I got out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Homemade tear gas.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, cayenne pepper, man. Especially if you're mixing it with vinegar. Like I'm sure that might. Well, I guess it doesn't prevent your dog from being down there. It said it didn't work.
I have not had a dog in my adult life that was real well house trained.
Really?
No. Based on the breed. I'm pretty sure.
Beagles?
Yes.
Are they harder to house train?
They don't let you know. You know what I mean? Like, most dogs will nudge you or, like,
eventually,
look at the door or go over to the door or scratch on it. There's a routine. Every dog's a little bit different. These did not give you a moment's notice. They just would go and just piss everywhere.
I would lose my mind.
Did they ever just stare at you?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they were to do anything consistent, where I like, dogs got to use the bathroom, I would know.
Yeah, my dog always clues me up. I get it. You know what I mean? Make the move, take it. I mean, I had a housebreaker, but it didn't take that long.
Dr. Gomez peed in the bed a couple times because
in the bed?
He couldn't hold it. Well, he slept with me.
And he just pee in your bed.
He just pee in the bed.
See, I don't think he liked you.
No,
I don't think he liked you. You keep coming up with the stuff. Oh, he tripped me on the stairs once.
Nasty.
Right.
Cat pee is impossible to get out.
It is.
And they know that.
Yeah.
So that cat did not like you.
When that cat died and I got rid of that cat, it took about a week. And then I finally came in and I'm like, my house doesn't smell like cat pee anymore.
Yay.
I mean, it's still there. There's still a hint of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd walk in the door sometimes. I'm like, oh my God.
But like a dog will pee on a carpet. You keep the carpet. Cats pee on the carpet. You're getting a new one.
It's like a wall of
Absolutely.
ammonia. What was responsible for the smell? 206-421-ROCK.